Wow.
We're gonna have a small pre-show. Okay.
Okay. I'm feeling very.
Mrs. Spraggins is on her way right now. She's doing executive producer duties.
And so we're blessed by Vianney Moreno for a brief cameo. Hi, Vianney Moreno. What's up?
Hello. Welcome in to the pre-show before the pre-show.
This is great. I didn't anticipate having you here, which means I'm going to ditch my pre-show topic, which can hold, and instead talk to you.
Okay.
About your big party on Saturday. Yesterday or Tuesday was your birthday.
It was.
But on Saturday you had your birthday party. Mm-hmm. And this was, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was more or less a stand-in replacement for the quinceañera you never had?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So 25añera.
Yeah, got it.
Oh, got it.
25añera. Got it. Nailed it.
So, yeah, my parents were like, let's, since we didn't give you the big 15, we'll give you the big 25. And I was very grateful to have a lot of people there, family, friends, my coworkers. Oh, my dad was like, your coworkers stayed all night and danced to everything.
They did.
And they were very impressed. And
that's not surprising to us, though, right? and the Dave Campbell's crew did roll deep. I unfortunately was not able to be there because I was sick, and there were 3 of the 4 members of the Tepper household had fevers. And the one who's the most mad about it is the one who didn't have the fever, which is my wife.
Yes.
But I'm glad that it looked like a great party.
It was very fun.
Y'all were getting down.
It was very fun. If there's one thing is that DCTF closes it down.
We will lock it down.
They close it down.
Who was I'm really curious about your family's impression of Carter Yates.
Did you hear?
No.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny you say that because my aunt was sitting at the table watching Carter Yates and asking me, who was that white man over there with the sick dance moves?
Who's the white boy?
Who's the white boy? Because Carter Yates throws it down.
Yeah, that's why I specifically asked about him. Because I feel like Carter is probably the most alarming of the members of the Dave Campbell's Texas football crew. Like when you meet him, you're just like, wow, Yeah. I hope he's listening to this.
I hope he's listening too. But he can definitely throw it down. He can worm.
Yeah.
Like that's
what it
his
is.
Star.
I think there's
move.
that is that he's a guy who is really full send on everything. And so I'm curious how your family reacted to him. I'm just sad I haven't met your family yet. Like that is a hole in my game.
My dad had a couple things that he was going to say to you, but I guess we'll never know.
I'm ready to be ripped by Raul.
As
Mr. Moreno.
Oh, okay.
If I may I speak directly to him?
Go ahead.
Mr. Moreno, sir, I offer you the forum. Anytime you want to swing by, this chair is open. The pre-show is yours for the taking. We would love to have you on to air your grievances. We are a customer-first broadcast. And so I give you the forum, sir. Anytime you want to sit right here. End transmission.
I love that.
That sound good? Will you pass that along to him?
I will pass it along.
Okay, thank you. And without further ado, let's get to some football. Hit the Theme Expo. Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas. It's Texas Football Today, a show that's going through a line change. Hey, Carter, I don't know if they have the show on out there, but he just walked by and gave me the stink eye. My name is Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, texasfootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the places, or you're also listening to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm today, a different producer than the producer of the pre-show. We go live to the lair where it all happens. We're pleased to be joined by the Duchess of the Dorks, Ashley Pickle.
Hi, team. I'm sorry.
You had a meeting running along.
I have been in meeting hell for the past 3 days.
Pantsuit Pickle.
Yeah, Oh yeah, it is. It is officially Pantsuit Pickle season. From about, I would give it February to June.
Mm-hmm.
We pantsuit so hard.
Yeah. How can we do that with Spraggins though? Pantsuit Pickle works so perfectly.
Suit Spraggins,
suited and booted Spraggins.
Suited and booted Spraggins.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
go. I might like that actually even better than Pantsuit Pickle.
Suited and booted Spraggins. Nay, Pantsuit Pickle. Today is Thursday, January 30th, 2025. Oh, it's the last episode of January 2025.
Oh.
It's how many days till Thanksgiving? It's 300 or so.
Okay.
301. 301
wow.
days until Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Kid Cudi.
Oh, nice.
Who turns 41. And happy birthday to former President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Happy birthday to FDR. Hope he's having a great day. Oh, wow.
Okay, that one.
I'm receiving word that Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed away in 1945. That's it's unfortunate. We honor the memory of our president of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And happy birthday to Phil Collins.
Oh, nice.
It's episode 18 to 31. On today's show, folks, it's Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
We're going to be breaking down which Texas high school football teams played the toughest schedules in 2024. A couple different ways to measure that. We'll dive into the numbers coming up here in a moment. In the back half of the show, Carter Yates. Carter Yates was at the DFW clinic in Grapevine. Carter Yates.
Never heard of him.
Braylon. Do you know Braylon?
I do know Braylon.
Okay, yeah, okay. He was at the DFW clinic recently and caught up with a number of coaches. One of them, the head coach of the Waxahachie Indians, Coach Shane Tolleson. We will hear from Shane Tolleson coming up here at the back half of the
You want to hear a funny story about Carter at the DFW clinic real fast?
We go to Ashley Pickle for a funny story.
So we were all there. Step was in the middle of an interview. Me, Ish, and Mallory are all standing there. Carter gets there. Carter Yates, great. He's shaking hands. He's kissing babies. People love to see him. Well, he goes up and shakes the coach's hand. I can't remember who it was. Jeff Rayburn, maybe? He goes up and shakes the coach's hand right in the middle of Step's interview. And Coach, shook his hand and stuff, and Step goes, that was our very own Carter Yates. And it was just so funny because it wasn't like it was someone else's interview, and he just was like, oh, I don't know this person, but it doesn't look like they're on. It was literally Step, and it was so odd. He felt so bad.
Look.
But it was like, that's DCTF. That is good content. That is content.
Look, we are who we are. Okay, we are exactly who. There are no.
We don't need to
frills around
apologize
here.
for that.
And there's no We don't make any illusions about who we are and what we are.
We're just a group of dorks.
We're a mess,
and we like to have a good time.
Absolutely. So we'll hear more from Carter Yates coming here at the back half of the show as he caught up with Shane Tolleson of Waxahachie. So, do we first work through the door?
We sure do. It was jersey number 69, nice. Paul Roberts, whose football opinion you can trust.
Absolutely.
TJ Hudson and Lau Good. Matthew Stepp is also wanting credit for the Pantsuit Pickle nickname, which
he helped. Oh yeah.
It was his. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did it.
He gets at least partial credit.
But I get credit for his nickname, the Fraud God.
He is the Fraud God. You get that.
President Business was the one that y'all gave him.
Yeah, we went President. Yeah, that was a Max thing.
Yeah.
Not my son, Max Thompson. Poochie, R.I.P.
I don't know about how good Max is with alliteration yet.
I don't know. He's going to preschool twice a week.
Oh, nice.
Popping off. Anyway, all right. It's Thursday. It's the final day of shows here for January of 2025. And here on Thursdays on Texas Football Today, we like to celebrate a segment we call
Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
It's Math Tuesday here on Texas Football Today, where we dive into the numbers of Texas high school football across the state of Texas. And we are still recapping and keeping an eye on what happened in the year of our Lord 2024 in the Texas high school football season. And one of the things that we hear a lot around these parts is essentially there's people like to know who the best teams are, right? Obviously, we put out the program rankings. We have our in-season rankings, the official rankings partner of the Associated Press. People like to stack their teams up against one another. That's the whole point. My team's better than your team. And inevitably, as a great man once said, you are what your record says you are, but there's another level to that, which is like, oh yeah, but like, who have you played, right? Who have you played? You hear that a lot in college football whenever it gets to college football playoff time of who should be in and who should be out based on who you played and what your strength of schedule is. And certainly that should play a part in it. And especially, I would say, in Texas high school football, where the quality of schedule, I think, can be very disparate, okay? For example, I think if you're in the NFL, take the NFL, for example, and you are 10-0, if you have two 10-0 teams, like there is maybe a difference in what your schedule looks like, but in the end, being 10-0 is being 10-0.
Yeah,
right?
And you're amongst professional teams. All of those are professional football players.
The worst NFL team, who's the worst NFL? Who's got the number one picks? The Giants?
Yeah, I think
maybe?
so.
Okay, the Giants, okay? The Giants are still an extremely good football team. They're just bad for the NFL, right? In high school football, what I would argue is that being 10-0, one team being 10-0 versus another team being 10-0 are not necessarily the same thing. And you also see this whenever the rankings come out. And we hear this all the time. How do you have a team that has a loss or multiple losses ahead of a team that's undefeated? Right? And the answer for us usually is like, okay, yeah, who have you played? Like strength of schedule. Maybe we're waiting for more data. But that does kind of lead us to the question, which is which teams were the most battle tested in 2024 in Texas high school football? Which teams went out there and played the toughest schedule now after the fact? And there were some teams that we knew looking at their schedule, it turned out it was going to be a tough schedule, and it was. There were other teams that I think we saw their schedule and go, wow, that's brutal. And then after the fact, you look at it and you go, well, yeah, but some of the teams they played ended up not being as good as we thought they were going to be, right? And then there's also kind of, I think, the flip side, which is some teams that we looked at their schedule and said, well, that's nothing special. And it turned out that it ended up being loaded with absolutely spectacular football teams that made them one of the toughest schedules in the state. And so I want to take a look at which teams in Texas high school football in 2024 played the toughest schedule. We're going to measure this in a couple of different ways. The first way I want to do it is as basic as it gets, which is how many wins did your opponents have? Okay? Plain and simple, how many wins did your opponents have over the course of the season? Who played the most winningest ball clubs, right? And the answer here is Salina. So Salina went 16-0, won the 4A Division I state championship. Their opponents won 141 games. Okay, 141 games, which means their opponents averaged 8.8 wins per team, per opponent.
That's
pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good. Aubrey, a district rival, by the way, is right behind them at 8.7 wins per opponent. Brownwood, another team kind of from that neck of the woods, played a brutal schedule. They only went 6-5, but their opponents averaged 8.7 wins per team. Atascocita, I think not a surprise to see them on here, right? 12-2, they played 121 teams that won 121 games. Vanderbilt Industrial went 2-8, but they can look at their schedule and say, yeah, but we played a schedule that averaged 8.6 wins per team, per opponent that we played. Newcastle in the six-man ranks, 7-5, won a playoff game. Their opponents won an average of 103 games, or rather 8.5 wins per team. They won 103 games. And same thing, by the way, Galena Park North Shore. You look at that, 14-1. They won 128 games, an average of 8.5 wins per opponent. And you can look at that and say, okay, well, Salina played the toughest schedule. And I think you would be within your rights to say that. I will, however, throw out one big caveat here. And I think maybe you may be able to spot it, which is as you progress in the playoffs, aren't you playing better teams? Like when you get into the state semifinals, right? Even a team like Joaquin, which was a huge surprise making it to the state semifinals, right? They had 10 wins. So as you progress through the playoffs, you're playing better and better teams that have bigger and bigger gross win totals, right? And so maybe this isn't the most accurate comparison and most accurate measure of which teams played the toughest schedule. What about instead, because the other thing is that isn't that just a measure of how far you went? Salina played 16 games. They played in a state semifinal. They against a Canyon West Plains team that won, I think, 13 games, right? They're getting credit for that other teams aren't. Kilgore played in the state, they played Kilgore in a state championship game. Kilgore was the team that won 13 games, right? They're getting credit that, plain and simple, a team like Brownwood never got to that point. If they had kept winning, that's not necessarily a measure of the schedule, but maybe a measure of how far they went. And so the next thing I want to look at is maybe a measure of the winning percentage. Okay, which teams played opponents with the greatest combined winning percentage? And at the top, you've got a pair of 6-man teams. Newcastle, we already talked about them. Their opponents went 103-38. Okay, a 730 win percentage. That's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. And Newcastle certainly was very battle tested, and we knew kind of going into that. Another one that I think is very interesting here is Klondike. We kind of flagged them early as saying, hey, they were 0-4, but don't bury them. That's because they played Knox City, Jayton, Happy, and Whiteface. Okay? Those weeks 2 through 4, Jayton, Happy, and Whiteface, those two teams finished a combined 39-3. Okay? They ended up playing a schedule that went 117-48, including playing that Jayton team again, who ended up playing for a state championship game, playing a state championship. Midland Legacy, you take a look at their schedule. Their opponents went 93-39 this year, and yes, they only went 6-6, and certainly that's not the standard that we know Clint Hartman wants to have out there at Legacy. But when you take a look at playing Allen, a 13-1 team, Euless Trinity, an 11-2 team, Lake Travis, a 12-2 team, right? Those games, that really adds up, right? You add in Wolford Friendship, and then they ended up playing Euless Trinity again in an area round matchup. They got battle tested. We talk about Aubrey, right? We talked about them. 114-48 was their opponent's record. Down in the Valley, it was a bad year for San Benito. Nobody's going to say that 2-8, 2-9 is exactly what they're looking at or what they want. But look at their schedule: 10-2 PSJA North, 14-2 Austin Westlake, 15-1 Carthage, right? 10-2 Los Fresnos. Okay, they played a brutal schedule. Westlake on that list as well, Atascocita again, and then Rogers. Rogers went 120, played an opponent, or their opponent's record was the same as Atascocita, 687. So certainly these are teams that were battle tested as well. There's one other way to measure this, and I think this is pretty interesting. When you take a look at, because these are obviously based on how these teams did, but if you want to get into the weeds, yeah, Klondike, their opponents won 117 games, but who did those teams play, right? One of the things that we utilize here is the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Computer. We talked about that, and it's basically an ELO system, which says it measures basically how well you did against the team and then how well that team does. Essentially kind of a dynamic metric of how well your schedule is shaping up. And so what I want to look at are the teams that, according to the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Computer, played the toughest schedule in each classification. And this may be a little surprising to you.
Yeah, it is.
In 6A, it's Atascocita. So we talked about their opponent's record was 121-55, right? Look at who they played. They played North Shore twice, Katy, Westlake, and Summer Creek. I think this is not a surprise.
I could have guessed that.
Yes.
And it's funny because all season long, we said Atascocita, pound for pound, has the most impressive resume out of any team at any point in time.
And sure enough, they have, according to the computer, they have the best, they play the toughest schedule in Texas high school football of any classification.
And Westlake and Summer Creek were both on the road.
Summer Creek, yeah. I mean, I want you to think about that. North Shore was a state semifinalist, played them twice. Westlake, a state finalist. Summer Creek, a state semifinalist. Brutal schedule. In 5A, it was Highland Park. Highland Park, of course, played Smithson Valley in that state championship game. But they also played Denton Ryan, Lovejoy, Frisco Lone Star. Their schedule was very tough. Very, very tough. And that doesn't count, by the way, the only other team they lost to besides Smithson Valley, which is a team from Colorado, Cherry Creek, which I think went on to win a Colorado state championship. We don't have a way of measuring them, but certainly if you want to put that credit in there, put that in their credit, I think you could. Mm-hmm. In 4A, we've mentioned them a ton. It's Aubrey. Okay, Aubrey went 8-5, and the reason that they end up being at the very top of this list is in 4A is because specifically of District 7. We knew District 7 was tough. They played Salina twice, played them in the regular season and in the playoffs. They played Frisco Panther Creek in district, right? They played Brock in non-district, a team that played in a state semifinal, and then they played Sulphur Springs, which is a 10-3 team. They're, according to the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Computer, certainly by virtue of playing Salina twice, that helped, but Aubrey played the toughest schedule in 4A. In 3A, it was Hitchcock. Hitchcock, of course, played a brutal schedule within their own district with Columbus, right? They ended up playing, Columbus in district play and ended up handing them their only loss of the year in overtime. But then you add in that they played Franklin in the third round of the playoffs. You add in that they played Belleville in non-district. You add in they played Hampshire Finette in non-district. They played Silsbee in non-district. They loaded up a brutal, brutal schedule and ended up having the toughest schedule in 3A, according to the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Computer. This one caught me by surprise, but in 2A, it was Hemphill. Okay, and you're thinking, this is the first time I've thought about Hemphill this year. And certainly, look, Brandon Lane's ball clubs went 1-9. Okay, they won a game against an out-of-state team and went 0-9 against Texas teams. And I get it. But look at the schedule that they played. And a lot of this comes back to playing in District 11, 2A Division 1, right? They played Joaquin, a team played in the state semifinal. Garrison, a 9-3 team. Wascom in non-district. That was a 10-win team, right? Palestine Westwood ended up being one of the big surprises in Texas high school ball. I think that's an example of us looking from the outside and saying, oh, well, Palestine Westwood, that's not necessarily impressive. And then at the end of the year, you go, oh, yeah, actually, that's very impressive that you played them. Mm-hmm. And I did Shelbyville. Shelbyville was a good team within their district, a 10-win team. And then the six-man ranks, it was Rankin. Rankin went 6-5, but they played an opponent's record of 87-42. And you take a look at some of the teams that they played, okay? Obviously, you know, when they played Whiteface. They played Whiteface in the state semifinal or the second round of the playoffs. That's boosting it as well. But in non-district play, they played Water Valley, who went 11-3. That was a state semifinalist. They played Westbrook in non-district. Remember, that was a team that entered as being in 3 consecutive state championship games. They played Buena Vista in district play, which ended up winning the district. And they played Happy in non-district, a 10-2 Happy team. So, according to the computer, these are the teams that played the toughest schedules in 2024. In the end, who played the toughest schedule in 2024, when you mash all those together, I think there's a couple of options here that appear on all 3 of these lists. Any way you split it, what Atascocita played in 2024, I think, has to be on that very short list.
Oh, yeah.
I would say between them and Aubrey, I would probably put them in the toughest schedule category.
Which, when realignment came out, those were 2 of the premier districts that we talked about, 23-6A, and then what I think it's 7-4 Division 1. Yeah, because I mean their schedule was just insane.
Yeah. And so that's a look at a variety of different ways to skin the cat. Which teams played the toughest schedules in 2024? You let us know in the comments which team you think played the toughest schedule in 2024, and we'll get to those comments at some point, or we won't. We're Texas Football Today. That's Math Tuesday, by the way.
Math Tuesday.
We're Texas Football Today. We're here Mondays and Thursdays on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at TCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Hope you'll consider going to TexasFootball.com/subscribe to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. Get this magazine, the 2024 Dave Campbell's Texas Football Rising, mailed to you right now. You'll also get a year of access to TexasFootball.com, all the insider content we've got there, and a year of Dave Campbell's Texan Live, our streaming platform, where you can watch hundreds and hundreds of live Texas high school events every single week, plain and simple, all throughout the year. including basketball right now. So get on there. TexasFootball.com.
A lot of basketball.
Subscribe. Coming up here in just a moment, Carter Yates caught up with the head coach of the Waxahachie Indians, Coach Shane Tolleson. We'll hear from him, but first a word from these valued partners.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
30-yard line, the 20, the 10. Touchdown!
Hey DFW residents, get your grocery essentials in minutes, not hours or days, with Wing Drone Delivery. Forget about last-minute trips to the store when you need things like cereal for breakfast before school, medicine for a cold, or snacks for a movie night. Wing's drones get you quick, no-contact delivery in as fast as 15 minutes. Say goodbye to last-minute grocery runs and say hello to more of your valuable time. Sign up today.
You're live. Carter Yates, Dave Campbell's Texas Football here with Waxahachie head coach Shane Tolleson. And Shane, what is the DFW Coaches Clinic like? For guys who've never been here, this is my first time. Like, why is this such a cool opportunity?
Well, first off, Texas high school football is a fraternity. It's a unique deal. You don't really realize that until you go out of state. You coach. I coached out of state for 10 years. And then coming back and recruiting my home state and just understanding how powerful the brotherhood here is here. And it really is. And it's so good because I feel like in this state where the money gets put into it, the support that you have, and it draws the best coaches from out of state to this state. But the profession that's here, the Texas High School Coach Association, what they're doing to bring the integrity to it and the being first class, it makes it special. And I just encourage all the guys on my staff. I know it's tough to get guys out of athletic periods on Friday to get over here, but I do encourage them. I pay for all of them to come over here to grow in this. I think this is a place that, people think it's just about communication, but it's relational. It's you haven't seen a guy in a long time. I just met a guy from Arkansas a while ago that I knew that logo, and he's looking for a job, and just his demeanor. I told him to call me if I ever have something open. Just, you never know in this profession, these vendors, man, and the relations you have, and there's no place like it.
Now, you might be running into a lot of coaches from District 11 6A, the District of Doom. You guys play, it's Duncanville, DeSoto. It's such a tough district for y'all. How does that prepare you, make y'all a better team for the playoff?
It does. You're not going to win the speed of the game. It's so fast in this league, and it helps you. Sometimes it hurts you because you're not healthy, going in. I want to credit to all this district. Some of us get a bad rap of we just got talent, it's not coached. There's a lot of coaching going on in this district. My hat's off to everybody in this league, and some of their records don't reflect how good of coaches they are, and because it's hard, it is. But the big thing is you feel good about when you get out of it, if you can get out of it. But hopefully, the big thing for me as we grow at Waxahachie is to have the depth in this league to play moving forward.
You mentioned the talent in this district. For you guys, very talented team. It starts with Jerry Meyer, your quarterback. He was a Nevada record holder for 58 touchdown passes as a freshman, had an outstanding sophomore year. How's it kind of feel for you as a coach having 2 more years with him, and what do you want to see him grow in?
Well, it was fun when he got there because I felt like he was listening to everything we said. My offense coordinator, Scott Reynolds, was coaching him. We felt like he was hanging on every word. Well, now he goes and breaks Waxahachie passing record, 2,000-yard receivers. Now we're coaching him how he knows everything now. So he's hard to coach, but I'll tell you what, man, what an incredible. He's better human than he is a player. He comes from a great family. And he's embracing, obviously, this level of competition. That's all he heard when he got here, that Mr. 2A can't compete and to do those things. But here's the deal. Last year's last year. This thing only gets better as we go, and you got to play every week in this league to have a chance.
And one of his best receivers, Cohen Brown, has just been blowing up on the recruiting radar. For college coaches that are trying to recruit this guy, what are they getting in him?
A guy that hates to lose more than he loves to win. He really does. When someone either covers him or he plays corner some, they beat him. It's not because they did something right. he internalizes that he did something wrong and he wants to improve. He's hungry to be the best player he can be, and that's what's going to give him a chance because, I always respect players no matter how they act on the field on game day. When I watch them at practicing hard. When you come to work, I promise you, Jerry Meyer, Cohen Brown, those guys are one of the hardest workers there.
And another big-time recruit, Jaquan Snell. He's a safety for you, but can play some wide receiver too. What kind of growth did you see from him, freshman to sophomore year?
Man, I know he looks 42, but he's only 17, and a 180 from his freshman and sophomore year. He comes from, if you know Waxahachie and you know the last name Snell, you know the bloodline and the rich from his brother Kennedy, and this is the whole family. His dad, I got a younger brother of his that's a freshman. Okay. Y'all going to be talking about him in a couple years. It's just that whole family. But I'm proud of what he is. He is going to play some receiver. And he's embraced that. And I think it only helps him at the next level too, to be projected in more positions than just one.
And I know, Coach, you've got a hell of a linebacker on your team that's actually your son. What's it like coaching your kid? Is that a new thing for you? Is this like something? How do you work through that? Being a coach with your son out there.
It's hard. It's hard. Nobody understands it. I didn't understand it working with Dave Hennigan, with his sons. You don't know until you go through it. And shout out to Blake Gideon for being authentic with me in my office about his relationship with his dad. So all the coaches' kids out there, tip my hat.
Yeah, and Coach, what's it going to do, like for Waxahachie, to take that next step? You're such a competitive program right now. But in that playoffs, what do you think are the final few pieces y'all need to really go far and make a state run?
It's all up front. It is. I feel like we can compete skill-wise year in, year out here. It starts with me. It starts with culture. It starts with just trusting the process with our kids. But here's the deal. When you get in 11-6A Division I, when it gets into round 3, round 4, it's all front. It's all up front. The depth up front, the size up front, to be able to run the ball. And the last times we've been to those two games in the regional quarterfinals, we struggled to run the ball. And to win it all, you got to play great defense. And you got to be able to run the football and take your shots when it's time to take your shots. And in those two times, we haven't been able to do it. To get to the next step, it helps to have a duty running back, but you got to be able to block those D linemen and the O linemen that you're going to see in those 4,000 enrollment, 5,000 enrollment. As you go up in 6A Division I, we're still hanging at 3,000. No excuse. We're going to spot the ball and play anybody anywhere, but you got to be able to block them as the higher you go up.
It's one of the best teams in Texas. Waxahachie, one of the most talented teams in Texas. Looking for another playoff run from these guys. It's Coach Shane Tolleson. I'm Carter Yates signing off with Dave Campbell's Texas Football.
Carter Yates there with Shane Tolleson, the head coach of the Waxahachie Indians. We appreciate him taking a little bit of time to stop by our little soiree there at the DFW Coaching Clinic in Grapevine a couple days ago. We appreciate his time, as always. Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts. What's up, Gizmo?
The question that we have is that, can you explain your hoodie? Oh,
I guess they're a sponsor. So Home Field? Our friends at Home Field?
Show the people first.
There you go. It's the Citronauts. UCF.
Oh, okay.
Reach for the stars. This is so like twice a year. I think you know this.
Mm-hmm.
Home Field, our friends at Home Field Apparel,
which unbiasedly have the best hoodies ever. Oh. They're so soft.
I have to be very careful around my wife because she will straight up steal them.
Oh yeah.
And she'll be like, "What do you mean? This is mine." But they have a what they call a mystery box sale, like twice a year, where it's like they will mark down their hoodies and say, pay X amount of dollars, which is like half off, but you don't know what you're getting. And for me, who's like an agnostic, I'm just like, yes, as long as it's not like, honestly, like a team I cover, that would be kind of hard for me to wear a team I cover.
I was going to say, if they sent you an A&M hoodie, that'd be
tough, or a Texas hoodie, or a Tech hoodie. It would be hard for me to do that. But luckily, I've come through, and I think I've done this 4 times now, and that's how I have a UCLA hoodie. That's how I have a Western Kentucky hoodie.
Yep.
That's how I have a Nevada hoodie. And now I have a UCF Citronauts hoodie.
That's a sick one. I bet you were
sweet,
pumped about that when you opened that one.
Well, and it's always kind of like rolling the dice, like, oh man, like I hope. But this is me, and I don't want to give away their business plan, but I'm fairly certain that what they do is that they ship out the ones that they don't sell a ton of.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I'm in like a huge problem. I don't think I need to worry about getting like an OU hoodie.
Yeah.
I think those are going to be in high demand. They have a big enough fan base.
Well, and they do a really good job too of updating their stuff all the time. So like they license out the rights with the schools to be able to create new kind of alternative old school logos. And so they're always coming out with new stuff, which is another reason why some of that stuff, I'm sure it's sold, but it's like they've already got 18 new other options.
Yeah, exactly right. So anyway, there you go. Our friends at Home Field Apparel. I think the promo code is DCTF. You get 15% off your first order if you use that at checkout. So go.
I had a friend message me about that not too long ago.
So
it's like, what was that code again?
Yeah, there you go. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks again to Shane Tolleson, the head coach of the Waxahachie Indians, for being our guest. For VNA Moreno and Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg
Shout
Tepper.
out, V.
Vince Young, please get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you Monday on Texas Football Today.